and welcome to ECCB Connects. We continue our discussion this week on the implementation of the ECCU Credit Bureau. We'll speak with Reynders of Creditinfo ECCU about how the Credit Bureau will work and how it can make access and credit easier for you. Stay connected with us. We'll share more with you after this message.
Do you own or manage a business? Interested in saving time and money? How about expanding your business? Then the Dcash Merchant app is for you. Receive digital EC payments instantly from Dcash customers anywhere via your smart device. Create invoices and track transactions easily in the app and avoid the hassle of handling physical cash. Visit dcashec.com today for more information and to sign up. Dcash, the digital version of your EC dollar.
Van, welcome to ECCB Connects.
Thank you for having me.
So let's talk about the Credit Bureau. The ECCB is working to introduce a Credit Bureau in our currency union. Tell us what exactly a Credit Bureau is.
To better explain what a Credit Bureau is or what it does, I think let me briefly explain or just touch on what a Credit Bureau aims to achieve. And so the aim of a Credit Bureau is to improve the lives of consumers and businesses alike through facilitating easy access to credit and promoting responsible lending. So one can explain to say that a Credit Bureau is an institution that is licensed by a central bank to collect and to protect credit and other related information from borrowers and over time build up a database of how individuals and businesses manage their credit from lending institutions. This information is then used and shared with authorized users to determine the creditworthiness of borrowers at the time of their credit application.
So you spoke about the authorized users that are involved in receiving this information collected. Talk to us some more about all the players that make up this ecosystem, if you will, of the Credit Bureau.
Absolutely. Well, at the core, or should I say, at the top level is, of course, the central bank, the ECCB, that not only regulate this credit information sharing ecosystem, but also provide a very strict governance framework in which we are operating in. Then, of course, there is the Credit Bureau as such, which provides the credit information sharing software solution. There are the lenders, of course. These are financial institutions such as credit unions, formal financial banks, other institutions that provide credit, etc. And then, of course, there are the consumers who make up the bulk of the information that we share. Consumers as well as businesses.
Okay. So in our current system now, we have, as we talk about lending institutions, banks, credit unions, and the like, who, when a customer approaches them to get credit for a credit facility or loan, have you, they would get the information from the customer, they sign a disclosure form, they reach out and they get the information collated. Tell us now, with the introduction of a Credit Bureau housing this type of information, how does that system now work with the Credit Bureau implemented?
So the main objective really is to simplify the lending process. And we do that by providing lenders with the timely access and up-to-date credit information at the time of processing a credit application, thereby reducing the risk associated with lending. So by having that credit information available, the lender can accurately assess the past payment behavior, the propensity to honor obligation from borrowers, as well as the extent of their exposure. And by doing that, the lender can then safely and confidently make informed lending decisions. So I'm not sure if that answered your question correctly.
Yes, I think that it does. And what it leads me to know, after you've said that, is finding out now how the information is actually collected. So you spoke about when a customer has to approach a lending institution, they have that past history that's collected to help assess, the application at present. How is that information, the past information, actually collected regarding a customer?
Certainly, yes. Yeah, that's a good question. So the Credit Bureau, as I mentioned earlier, is licensed by the central bank to collect and to protect this credit information. And we operate within a strict framework of regulation. Now, the Credit Reporting Act enables or makes provision for financial institutions to submit on a regular basis, at least monthly, credit and other related information of their borrowers to the Credit Bureau. That information includes both positive as well as negative information, and also current credit facilities, as well as historical credit facilities as well. And so that information then gets uploaded into the Credit Reference Bureau, where we then collate that information, and we make that information available to financial institutions in the form of a credit report. That credit report is pulled at the time of credit application by a borrower, only with the written consent from that borrower. And so financial institutions cannot randomly query this credit-related information. It can only be pulled with the consent of that borrower. Now, the system that the Credit Bureau implements is called the CBS system, and that is really the portal that enables financial institutions to safely and securely, through a secured portal, pull the credit information in the form of a credit report on that particular borrower.
I think you made an excellent point, underscoring that the whole system of credit reporting is underpinned by legislation. So it's not something willy-nilly that persons can go and access information. They are authorized players. The customer has to give consent, and it's actually underpinned by law and regulated by the central bank. So that's excellent information and good to know for customers.
Yeah, absolutely. On that, we absolutely guarantee confidentiality and data security on borrowers' credit information. That's underpinned, like you said, by the regulation and audited by the central bank. And so we operate under a very close watch of the central bank.
Now, Van, as you spoke about the data, a natural question that flows, and I'm sure many persons might ask, about the security of this data. We're operating more and more in a digital environment. There's no turning back, especially after the COVID-19 pandemic. How is information about customers stored, and how is it safely kept so that we don't have data breaches or any such threats?
So like I alluded to or noted earlier, the Credit Bureau operates under a very strict framework of regulation and governance by the central bank. And so the central bank has a very particular focus on data security and confidentiality. Creditinfo makes use of the latest technology and infrastructure and facilities that conform to the world standards in terms of data security and access and uptime. Now, the central bank audits and approved this facility prior to implementing the Credit Bureau. The central bank also approves the CBS software, which has multiple protection layers in it. And then the central bank also audits the facilities on a regular basis to ensure that we comply with data security regulations and expectations. We also do on a regular basis, and at least on an annual basis, do penetration tests in which we actually test our software to ensure that it's not easy to access that information from an outside source. And that's done on an annual basis.
Van, let's move to the consumer side of things. As we've said, the introduction of the Credit Bureau is something new to our currency union. Talk to us about some of the benefits of having a central repository, if you will, of this information to facilitate lending.
Yeah. So it's known that access to credit is a fundamental building block to stimulating economic growth, as well as personal wealth creation. I'll give you an example. For an example, a farmer may wish to purchase equipment to transport his goods from the field to the marketplace. or a business owner may wish to take bridging capital while importing goods, or a consumer, like an ordinary person like you and I, may wish to purchase a home, which in investing terms is a fundamental pillar of creating personal wealth. Now, we, myself, you, the farmer, the business owner, or the general consumer may not have that capital to do so, and therefore needs access to credit in order not to stumble, or should I say, be halted in their economic growth. So by having your credit application available at the time of application to the lender, the consumer can use that good past payment behavior, or should I say your historical payment behavior, as reputational collateral to ensure that at the time of application you get speedy approvals, you get favorable rates. In time, your interest rates will get reduced because it's a reward for low risk, consumer.
Yeah, lenders, yeah. Yes.
That's right. Yeah. There is reduced demands for collateral potentially, increased repayment periods, increased range of loan products will be available. For example, credit cards can be extended, vehicle financing, mortgages, etc. And so there's a wealth of opportunities that open up when you're able to take your past information and use it as reputational collateral for future opportunities. And so that's really where the benefit of the credit bureau is that financial institutions now know who you are. They recognize that your past payment behavior can be used as reputational collateral, and therefore are far more willing and open to extend credit at favorable rates, and of course much quicker than it was in the past.
And I think speed is extremely important. I think persons can relate very easily to going into a financial institution, a bank, and having to wait sometimes days, weeks to get this credit history collated so that the application can then be assessed. So I think that's very useful in helping to transform the way we do business right now. And then given that past history, like you said, the reputational capital, they have something to negotiate now when they go to a lender to say, here I am, this is who I am. I can ask for a particular rate.
Exactly. And we see that those are the benefits. We've seen it in emerging markets all through Africa and places where we've developed this, is that speedy access to formal finance and credit increases when there is a credit information sharing ecosystem in place. And then, of course, as institutions start to compete for good borrowers, for good customers, they develop better products. They develop credit cards and mortgages and vehicle financing and facilities that they couldn't extend previously because of the risk associated with not knowing who their borrowers are. And so this ecosystem has a spin-off of value adds and benefits, not only to consumers, but to financial institutions and the economy as a whole. And we look forward to bringing this to the union.
Is there a difference in terms of the credit reporting that happens with a consumer versus a business? Is the process similar?
The process is exactly the same. The data gets reported in the same manner. The credit report gets pulled in the same fashion. And so it is simply data that's relating to a consumer or a business alike.
So as we wrap, talking about this new introduction, I'd ask you to share some tips with us for customers in terms of improving their credit standing. Now that we have a system that is going to be tracking and keeping account of their spending and credit habits, what are some tips persons can employ in improving that situation?
This is such an important topic and such an important point. And so the responsibility really falls on consumers to manage our own credit profiles. And what I mean by this is that the responsibility falls on the consumer or the borrower to build a positive track record with creditors by paying your accounts on time. And this will also encourage other creditors to want to do business with you if you have a good profile. So it's in your own interest to pay on time, to apply for credit only if you are confident that you can meet those repayment terms. Use your credit cards wisely. If you have, keep your balances low, pay them on time, communicate, for example, with your lender. If you know you're going to face payment challenges prior to facing or prior to defaulting on your payment, reach out to your lender and communicate with them. See if you can reschedule or refinance your credit. Another really good tip is to get your free credit report annually. So annually, the regulation allows for consumers to pull a free credit report from the Credit Bureau. So please do so, and then review that information on the credit report. And if you find that there is something that is not accurate, the regulation also allows for a process to file a dispute and have that information corrected. That dispute you file with the Credit Bureau directly, and we have to respond within a certain period of time to investigate and to correct the information if it's not accurate. So those are all tips that you can use to help build a good credit repayment credit profile. And yeah, that's really the sum of it.
Van, thank you for speaking with us on ECCB Connects.
You're very welcome, and thank you again for having me.
And now for this week's financial tip.
Understand the difference between niceties and necessities, and focus on your needs rather than your wants. Be willing to forego the things you really don't need.
That's it for this week's episode of ECCB Connects. Thanks for watching, and be sure to join us next week when we bring you another program to share with you who we are, what we do, and how we serve you.